Hi, Walid. I'm back. Sorry about the
Okay.
delay.
Oh, no problem. Like if you ever need to take a break, that's completely fine. I've been meaning to ask you, do we have like a hard stop on 1 hour 30 on our like 1 hour 30 minute call? I believe this might go a bit over that since it's like your
Uh,
experiences are very very long.
I have a hard stop at in basically in 43 minutes.
In 43 minutes, all right. We'll try and cover as much as we can then.
Yeah.
If like we can't cover everything in this time, would you be open to having another call tomorrow then?
Yeah. Let me look at my schedule for tomorrow to see what works.
Okay. Um,
Uh, Tomorrow I am open at uh, between 9:30 and 10:30
mhm.
my time, like
Right,
basically
right,
Los Angeles time.
right. Okay, that's nice.
What time were you thinking?
No, no, that's all right for me too. I'm open at that time.
Okay. So 1 hour?
Okay. Yeah. Uh, so 9:30, 10:30 your time. That's like Pacific time, right? Pacific
Correct.
Standard Time.
Correct.
Okay, okay, that's awesome. Okay. Adapt to inevitable changing nature of. Okay, right. So this one thing over here. You developed a custom application uh, for this stage gate framework. So
Right.
what was the purpose of this custom application exactly? I couldn't get that.
So um, there's the stage gate framework is a process or methodology. Um, so usually, like to make sure that processes are followed, um, it's good to basically give people build tools that people need to um, kind of use so that they can progress their projects around a certain methodology. So basically you could tell somebody, hey, if you want to do something right, you have to do step 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Or you can tell them, if you want to do perform this type of task, use this tool, and the tool already has the logic embedded in it. So that's what we've done. So the stage gate is basically a manufacturing concept that we borrowed to manage construction projects. And what we've done is we built a software, it's a custom application. It's a custom software. There's no like software available on the market to do that. And that software had the logics of the different steps embedded in it, so that if I'm a project manager and I want to progress my project from one phase to another, I have to go through those steps, and I use the software to go through those steps, and that enables that. You know, I'm properly evaluating, like my project performance and my ability to move from one stage to the other.
All right. Okay. Uh, right. So other than this, you like over here at a lot of places, you're saying that like you developed a custom application or created a database, but like you actually led the creation of this database or custom application and stuff like that, right?
I'm sorry. Can you say again?
Oh, sorry. You led the creation of the custom application or the database, whatever that's technologies that are mentioned here, custom
Right.
technologies. So you
Right.
led their development, right? Okay.
Yeah. So basically, in this case, kind of like what I described to you earlier about my team. I see the need for to build something like that. So I basically um, uh, validate that vision and the need with the client, and I also kind of put together the framework of the solution, talk to my team about it, and then I have folks that end up actually writing the code, right, of the application. But in terms of like the architecture of what we're trying to do, um,
Mhm.
that's what I kind of come up with, and obviously ensure that it gets built.
Right. Okay. You also introduced initiative-based clauses informed by integrated project delivery and lean construction practices into vendor contracts.
Right.
So, like, what was the benefit of this exactly?
So this is basically, let's say we have a working relationship. Let's say you and me have a working relationship right now. I signed a agreement with Career Tuners, right? A contract. Over the years, like, as you work with your clients, you realize that, okay, these contracts, are good, but they don't really reflect the way we would like to work with people. And so because contracts like govern relationships between different companies, like especially in construction, we've noticed that there's more room for introducing clauses around collaboration and transparency. And basically, the goal of that is that, when you're kind of engaging on contracts with people, you kind of through that language set your expectations in terms of like how your relationship wants to be, so, or how you want your relationship to be. So, and that also helps you to always during the project go back to that set and said to those clauses and say, look, we've agreed that these are good things to commit to on the project. So so that's basically the benefit. It's kind of like you go through multiple projects using the same contracts, and then you realize maybe I should be more prescriptive about my expectations, and that's what we've done over there. We put like more we put language around, for example, using some of the technology platforms, and put the reason why behind that, and kind of talked about transparency of performance of everybody involved in the contract, and also visibility to how everybody's performing.
Right. So, transparency and performance expectations sets that much
Correct.
clearer, right?
Yep.
Okay. And this is like a continuous thing that you did throughout your time here, like continuously reevaluating the contract and modifying it.
Yeah, periodically. I don't want to say continuously all the time, but yeah, like we revise those sometimes on a yearly basis. We look at them sometimes on some issue comes up on a project, and the client talks to us about it, and we say, okay, well, maybe we should reconsider, like adding something. So
Right. Could you give me an example of like an issue coming up in a project and you went to your vendors and like changed their contracts because of that issue, solved that issue?
yeah, a simple example would be the client invested in adopting software, okay, and because they're managing a lot of projects, right? But every project they're working on, with different engineers or architects or contractors, like builders. So from the client perspective, what they want to do is they want to use one system, right? Now the companies they work with may have their own systems or software that they use. So one of the contractors, for example, did not want to use the client system because they said that they have their own system. And then that's when we kind of suggested that, okay, we should probably moving forward add that you expect your vendors to use your system, and then also highlight the benefits from doing that. Because when the vendors use the client system, the owner, then they're also able to see if the owner has an action and they're late. They can, it's not just to monitor the vendors, but the vendors also can kind of quote unquote monitor the client. So we basically set it out in the contract that it's mandatory. The use of this system is mandatory, and we identified like the benefits that the vendors get. That it's not only just for the sake of the client. So that's one example.
Right. Okay, and adopting a criteria-based vendor selection process.
Uh-huh.
So, could you tell me the before and after picture of this? Like, what happened before this, and like how did this improve stuff further?
Yeah, so before you would have like if you wanted to know, okay, should I hire this company? You would try to find like somebody who's worked with them before, okay? And then that person may have uh, like within my clients, different project managers work with different vendors. So like maybe some of them worked, some PMs work, project managers work with vendors. A couple of years ago, they may not be very clear on or like remember exactly how the project went. Uh, and what we've done is we basically said, okay, we want to understand, we want to basically make sure that the vendors understand that we look at their performance and we looked at, specific performance criteria. Like, do they usually end up asking for more money to finish the work? Do they finish on time? Do they not finish on time? Is the work quality good? Uh, so we basically defined about like um, a dozen criteria of things that matter to the client when it comes to working with the vendor, and we started asking the project managers to basically fill out a report card, and all of that information is now available. So the after the picture after is that now you can look at different vendors, you can identify what projects they worked on, and then you can identify how they performed against certain criteria.
Right. Okay. Um, there is this thing that you demonstrated a positive ROI for the implementation of reality capture and BIM technologies.
Mhm.
So, this has been prominently mentioned in several places across your resume and cover letter. Like, what what does this entail? Could you elaborate that? Like, how did you
Uh,
demonstrate this ROI? Like,
I actually I wrote a white paper on that, but basically, um, the gist of it is we looked at cost overruns on projects and identified causes behind them, and we realized that a good chunk of the cost overrun are due to um, 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 not having the correct givens for those projects on the existing conditions of the building, and then the other one was that a lot of time the design was not coordinated. So we then kind of looked at uh, empirical information in terms of how the reality capture and the BIM uh, um, technologies can basically solve for these issues, and we looked at the cost that these issues uh, typically are incurred by the organizations from these issues, and then we looked at the cost of implementing the technology and the services around BIM and reality capture, and I came up with that ROI. Actually, it was something that
right.
I've done prior to joining this company, the last company I'm working with, Instoa, and it's a study
Great,
I've
great.
done on. Yep,
Right. So this is done prior to joining Enstoa Inc.
correct. But it was
Oh,
between those two jobs. So there's one job that I don't. After I quit my first job, the LBL one, I went on my own, but I don't have it. I don't have that in my resume per se. I kind of embedded some of what I've done in general on the resume.
right. You do have that on LinkedIn, by the way, though, right?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, right. All right. So you did this during that job. Already understand. Could you elaborate? Like, why did you need to do this? Like, demonstrate this ROI.
It was because a client